This conference will now be recorded.
And I'll be right back.
Where's my board?
I don't know. You're it.
Are you the only one?
You are it.
Oh no.
Are
That's
you
not
at the
good.
lake? I'm trying to see. Are you at the lake?
No,
You
going
should
down
be.
tomorrow probably. Yeah. Dorothea's at work.
There is.
Susan.
Hello.
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 Hi, Steve.
Hello.
Hi, Justin.
Hey, Justin.
You know, one thing I just noticed is that it looks like the meeting notice on the main web page has an invalid meeting ID in GoToMeeting.
Hold on, I'll check.
Calendar, I got in through the calendar, and that one looks okay, but the one under the news event is invalid.
Hold on, let me check it. It was right.
It was. Hi,
Seems like
Dave.
everybody's getting in the. Hey, Dave.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Frank
I'm
and Lily.
Dorothy. I'm looking at it now though, and it seems like it's the same meeting ID, so I'm not sure.
It is correct, so I'm not sure what the issue is.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it worked. And
I mean, it's posted on Facebook, it's everywhere. It's on
Yep.
10
Okay.
spots, so I'm comfortable that
Okay.
if public wants to
So
come.
here's, all right, you want to know what the problem is? If you read the hyperlink on the web page, it has the meeting ID ending in 589, which is the correct one. That's the one that's in the PDF. But if you click on the one on the web page, the hyperlink is wrong. It goes to a different meeting ID.
Oh, well, that's not
I
good.
can't explain how that happened, but that's the issue.
All right, well, we'll double check that in the future, but it should be fine. Okay. Bob, you're muted.
Hey, Dorothea, it's Renee.
Hi, Renee.
How
I'll
are you?
enable you.
Hi, Renee.
Hi.
I'll make a motion to call the meeting to order.
Lampier, second.
Roll call. Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
Trustee Galusha. Frank, we can't hear you. Do you have your sound off on your mic, on your computer? Something's off.
May I ask a question here? What, I believe, isn't this a planning board meeting?
Yeah, we're both going to have to open the meeting, Justin. We're going to do it first, then you'll have an opportunity to.
I didn't see a trustee meeting announced on the website.
It is announced on the website.
Okay.
Frank, you can hear us, but we can't hear you. You might have to call in, Frank. Trustee Stetzer,
Stetzer, aye.
Mayor Corby. Trustee Galusha, by verbal, nonverbal skills, has pretty much said he is here and agrees. He's getting a phone link in, so I think we're okay to say motion passes either way.
Okay. Justin, do you want to do a roll call for your vote for your board?
Well, we usually start with the announcement of the Governor Cuomo's order here.
May I ask if we already started recording as well?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
We're recording.
Thank you.
All right, well, I'll just add the typical verbiage we have before opening our meetings, that we're meeting virtually via video conference pursuant to Governor Cuomo's order regarding the coronavirus. A link to this meeting is on the village website, so any member of the public wishing to observe this meeting may go to the link on the website. I have verified that the link works on the calendar section for the planning board. That said, I'll make a motion to open the planning board meeting. And it is 9/3/2020 at 5:04 p.m.
Second,
Second.
Dave Meyer.
Okay. Oh, how do you vote? I'll vote aye.
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 Okay, let the record show all 5 members of the planning board are present and voted in favor of opening the meeting.
Okay. Would you like to, someone from the planning board like to start and summarize addressing some of the suggestions and recommendations you have pursuant to your review of the active transportation plan in your LWRP consistency review?
Well, maybe I should first start, this is Chairperson Vleetstra, out by asking the trustees. We've documented our changes. We had 2 documents. The first one was general recommendations for amendments to the Pittsford Active Transportation Plan, and that was not factoring necessarily in the local waterfront consistency review. That was just our general recommendations and thoughts. And then document number 2 was our recommendations for the LWRP amendments to the Active Transportation Plan, where we had a bunch of citations from the LWRP and made recommendations for improvements that could be made to the Active Transportation Plan so it would better comply with our LWRP regulations. So my first question is, how many trustees have read these documents?
Do we
So
raise
Bob.
our hands?
This is Trustee Stetser. I have read them.
Okay.
Trustee Lanfair, I have read them. My battery's low. I have technical difficulties.
Okay, and we can't hear Frank at the moment. Okay. All right, well, I'm glad that everybody read them. So as I explained, there is 2 sets of recommendations, one for LWRP and the other, which is just general recommendations. And the planning board has been waiting to hear from the trustees as to where you would like to go forward with this. If you are going to make amendments, I know Mayor Corby had some suggestions that we maybe have a joint meeting to discuss the contents of these documents. And I think that the message I've given to the trustees in the past is we worked on these, the trustees, and particularly Mayor Corby and Renee Stetser and other people that have been on the ATP committee. They've been in the trenches with some of the recommendations from the consultants, recommendations from the fire department, and so on. So some of the trustees may have some insight that the planning board lacked. So as we did with the code updates, there may well be some reasons for some things being in there that that is not known to the planning board. And I also think that through the planning board's thorough deliberations and review of the document, I think we really have some good ideas that will improve the document that we would like to see incorporated. I think that would actually be not only make the plan better, but it would actually make it better for our residents as well. So I think I can speak for the entire planning board that we would be very excited if the trustees would be willing to make amendments to the document, but I don't know what discussions the trustees have had in that regard.
I think maybe I can step in here. The only concern I had, I think all of your recommendations, I think are pretty much things I would support. The only problem, in some situations, you are looking for strident language. And I take me a minute to find the passage there. I think there was a global request that replace the word consider in all cases and make it clear that active transportation is
Bob, I'm
indeed
having trouble hearing your
including.
audio.
Let me do this. Okay, try this. On pages 75 to 84, you're recommending replace the word consider cases and make it clear that the active transportation plan is indeed a plan, including specific recommendations and not a preliminary call for further study. The problem I have with doing that in all situations is there's many things that were in the plan that we asked for that DOT said no. So we can't guarantee, because we have to work with partner organizations, we can't always guarantee achievement of all the goals that are in the active transportation plan. And just to cite one example was getting rid of that striped area on the Main Street Bridge to widen the shoulders and use bike lane over Main Street. That's something we've asked again and again and again for, but we can't guarantee that the next time we talk to DOT, they're going to say yes, because every time we've asked so far, they've said no.
Well, I think it's also to piggyback on what Bob is saying about the language. I think certain times things change as well. I know in the LWRP, we talked about this in one of the planning board meetings, that there was language, consider or ask, I don't have the LWRP in front of me, but using similar language about considering, because you don't know at the time what all the options may be. And if you do a design change in one area, that may impact what you want to do. So if we say this is the only option, that's not what we want necessarily. Well, we want to identify it as a trouble spot so that this is what the plan identified, but when we get to it and have the funding to work on a particular troubled spot, we want to be able to have all options available to us if that one that was initially recommended to be considered is not the best option.
So
I don't know if that makes sense.
If I can chime in just a little bit, this is Mr. Vleetstra again. I wasn't hoping, I think the plan was not to drill into all the details in the plan in tonight's meeting. But just to address the one issue, I believe the comment, and I'm going to paraphrase what Susan Lotus said in one of our meetings, and Susan, you can feel free to chime in, but the plan should be a plan that has what the village's objectives are. If the DOT doesn't want to implement something, I think that's a separate matter, but I think what we want to have is the best plan forward. And as the policies of the DOT and their engineers change, maybe they'd be more willing in the future to drive it closer to the village's vision. As long as it's not unlawful, I think it would be really great to have the plan that maximizes benefits for our residents in place. And that's what we've discussed. I'm paraphrasing. Susan, kind of feel free to chime in, because I know you eloquently discussed this in one of our prior meetings.
No, good job, Justin. Yep.
And I think that makes sense.
Oh, sorry.
But,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we need the explanation, just what I said previously, that these are aspirational goals. This is what's needed to make this a truly walkable place. But we still do have to deal with our administrative partners, who in some cases have jurisdiction, which trumps our authority.
So this is Trustee Stetzer. So Mayor Corby, you're recommending that we leave the language as consider. Is that what I understand?
Well, either we leave it as consider, or if we change it as the PZBA is recommending, then we need to add additional language that explains the limitations of our authority. So there isn't, what we don't want to happen is for let's take an example, the recommendation to change the catch basins to this design. Do we know whether these are allowed under DOT's New York State highway law? I know there are some problems with these because people can twist their ankle on these things, and there's other issues. There's also standards that have been mandated by the federal new stormwater management regulations. I just don't have the answer right now. So we have to be, this says change the drains in the road to in-curb drains to make more usable room on the sides of the road. Okay, that's a great idea. Is it technically feasible at the moment? I just don't know.
This is Trustee Stetzer again. Can we get back to the earlier question that Chairperson Velister brought up, that today wasn't necessarily, the intent of today was not necessarily to go by these line by line, but to discuss how we wish to proceed, because I know the initial ask about this meeting was to discuss an extension of the review period so that we could have a little more time to look over these. And so I would like to get back to that because I'm on a short time constraint for today.
And in deference to what Renee just said, I think that the amount of time you spent here warrants us having a dedicated meeting to go through them line by line, to look at each one in detail. And I think we need more time to do that as a board. We've done it individually, but I think we need to, and I would hope we could have the two boards together so we could have everybody involved in the dialogue. Anybody?
So, what, this is Trustee Stetzer. I'm not sure if because I'm on the phone, I can't tell if anyone else is chiming in. My apologies. Chairman Velister is going to be away. Chairperson, whatever we're calling you, is going to be away until I believe the 18th of September. It might even be later than that. And that will be beyond the period of the review, the LWRP review period. So what are our options for extending? I would like to propose that we extend the LWRP review period so that we have a little more time. This is great input, and we need some time to work on this collectively together.
I second Renee's motion.
Trustee Bob?
Yeah? Could you hear me?
I just want you to know I don't have a connection on my computer any longer. It left me, but I am here by phone.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, was that a motion and a second to extend the review period?
Is there a time frame for this?
That's what I was going to ask. What are our?
Well, we were going to. I think we need input from everybody, so we want to make sure that everybody here, and also Dan Keating wasn't able to make this meeting, that everybody have an opportunity to participate.
And Mayor Corby, I believe I heard that you are going to be leaving town a couple days after I get back. So it doesn't sound like a lot of progress is likely to be made in September if our objective is to involve everybody, which I very much like to do. Right. And I know Mr. Keating was not able to attend tonight just yet. But so I really like to have all 10 people here if at all possible, and I know that's a challenge.
Yeah. Mayor Corby, what are our do we have any legal parameters around how long we are allowed to extend it?
We can do it as long as we want. I did talk to Jeff Turner about this earlier, and basically whatever is reasonable given the task at hand. I would say give ourselves, a couple months to finish it off. And that way we
Another
can schedule
60
the
days?
meeting now. Another 60 days, yep.
Okay, so should I amend this is Trustee Stetser again, should I amend my original motion to extend the LWRP review period 60 days from today?
I want to make sure the members of the planning board are comfortable with that. Any board members? Does that sound good to you? Yes.
Would it be from today or from the end of the first 60 days?
It would be from today.
Okay.
That's fine by me. I mean, we're really just waiting on input from you guys, and if we're part of that, then great. And if you guys have some meetings before we all get together, that's fine too.
Yeah, I think what we would,
Great.
we are under no urgency to vote. We just want to make sure we follow our statutory deadlines. And I think if an amendment of this document is forthcoming based on our documents, we should give ourselves some time to wait for the trustees to update that. I think throughout this process, we don't want to be obstructive. So if we find concerns, we want to make sure that we let everybody know, give them the opportunity to address it. And then as we do with any applicant, whatever the revisions come forth, we'll consider that in our final decision. So I think if we do an effort like was done before with the code updates, where we have a joint discussion of some of these concerns, some agreements to make changes are made, that sounds like a really good step forward for everybody. So I know there's some urgency on the trustees to adopt this fairly soon, but I think some efforts over the next couple months could really make substantial improvements that would be, I think, in all of our best interests.
Okay.
This is
So,
Trustee Stetser.
Sounds like we have
I'm in
support
agreement.
for-
Yep, I'll be quiet.
According to Jeff, both of us, both the planning board and I'll let you speak in a second, Susan, and the planning board have to approve the extension. So if we do it, then I guess we also ask that the planning board do a parallel motion. Susan, you had your hand up.
Do you want to take care of that first? Do you want to take just,
That was
how do you, I mean, yeah, I'll move then that we approve the extension, even though I think this was an extension that was imposed on us, not, but anyway, another 60 days, okay? So I move that we accept the, agree with the trustee resolution to increase the deadline for 60 days from today.
I'll second.
Okay, from the trustees, I'll ask for a roll call vote. And Frank, you can raise your hand if you vote in the affirmative. And Lily, you can call Dorothea if you wish to weigh in on this.
I am here.
Oh, we
verbally.
can hear you. Okay, great.
I have no visual.
No worries.
Okay, Trustee Stetser,
Stetser, aye.
Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Mayor Corby.
Corby, aye.
Village motion passes.
Okay, and Mr. Vleetster speaking on behalf of the planning board, and I believe the same motion was on the table. Does someone want to follow the same procedure here with a roll call vote?
I can do it. Chairperson Vleetstra.
Aye.
Member Loda.
Aye.
Member Shannon.
Aye.
Member Lightgib,
Aye.
Member Marshall,
Aye.
all ayes.
Okay, well, I wanted to
Okay.
thank everyone.
I wonder,
I have a question. So this is a maybe a broader philosophical question, and I'm asking to kind of relieve me of some frustration. So this, when we work together on this document, do we have the DOT sitting on our shoulder saying yes or no? And is that the to some of our recommendations? And would we include someone from the DOT? You know, if there are other parties who are weighing in so heavily, you know, on what this document is going to look like, I think they should be represented, or we create the aspirational document, you know, that maybe the planning board we had in mind, you know, to be the strongest type of document. So I guess, are we going for aspirational or DOT-able? That's my question.
well, I think to answer that, I think the answer is in part, the original project, which you reviewed, was predicated by a grant funded by the Genesee Transportation Council. As part of that agreement with the town of Pittsford and the village, consultation with DOT is required. If we cap this thing with that project and then say on our own, we're going to make additional changes to it, and we're going to fund those additional changes, then we would not have to go to DOT, and we could put in there whatever we thought was correct.
Fund changes to the village portion of the ATP.
The portion that you reviewed is part of the GTC project.
Right.
So that
right.
is subject to DOT review. If we end that, we make amendments afterwards, we're on our own and we can do whatever we want. We're not restricted by the DOT or the GTC. I think that's one of the things, if we had a joint session, and because we have most of us gathered here today, perhaps it would be easiest to identify a date that would work for the majority of us. So we have a target date to have a joint session together to go through the recommendations line by line.
Speaking on behalf of the planning board, planning board members have been typically meeting at Mondays at 6 p.m. And I can't speak for everyone right now, but we've been doing that all summer long. So people have been generally free at that time. And I don't know how far out people's schedules are cleared. But just in general, we've been accustomed to meeting Mondays at 6 p.m.
Seems like that would be a good time for me, as long as it's not on a night when there's an HPV meeting.
So with that said, the next Monday that we can have is, first of all, we have a regular meeting scheduled for September 21st at, I guess that starts at 6 p.m. So that date wouldn't necessarily work unless we piggybacked onto the end of it. here we actually have some applications, so that could make for a somewhat long meeting, and maybe that wouldn't be desired. But then I'm personally available pretty much any Monday from the September 28th on. I'm available most other days too, but that's my schedule.
Justin, Dave, oh, go ahead, Lily. Your mute's on, by the way.
Sorry, I had some technical difficulties, so this might be redundant and I apologize. My question is, are we working towards a document that is revised or a document that has an amendment? So are we working on an amendment to the original document, or are we looking to revise the entire ATP to take it to public hearing?
Personally, I think we should wait on that decision until we work our way all the way through the issues. And then together, I think we can make a determination on which strategy makes the most sense and will give us the best tool of an active transportation plan at the end. But I think I'd rather go through all the items and sort of let that help us make the decision.
Okay.
Mr. Fleetstra, summarizing, I wanted to summarize discussion we had in one of the planning board meetings. And the general comment was the planning board is concerned about what the legal document is, however it's amended, whether it's an addendum or whether it's the actual document itself. And we understand that there's a big difference in cost between updating the document unless we find people to do that. If there's edits are simple, I think maybe we could do some of the edits in-house. If they're substantial, you need to get some professional involved. So as Mayor Corby said, until we know the scope of the changes, I think it's a premature decision. But there's multiple options. So the other part of our discussion was ideally they'd make their way into the document so you have a readable document. And instead of having a 95-page document and then a 25-page addendum that modifies that entire document, that's not particularly usable, but it would still be legal and binding and constitute the plan. And as funds persist, if that direction is gone, maybe the document could be updated in the future. That's kind of a summary of a discussion we previously had.
And I agree with what Justin just said.
I have one more question.
David had his hand up first.
Oh, I'm sorry, David, I didn't see you.
Go ahead, David.
Where are you? Oh, there you are.
Only when I talk do I come forward, probably. So one question, Justin and Bob, to what end should we potentially allow the board to discuss our findings together amongst themselves, maybe with a liaison from the PZBA, rather than only having those discussions with the full PZBA present? Might it make sense for you guys to kind of talk through some of those items and what you're flexible on, and maybe have a liaison there rather than requiring all 10 of us to be there? Because we've sort of talked it all through. I think we all have a pretty good general idea of how we perceive the challenges to the LWRP.
Well, I would be fine with that. I think it's up to you guys. We could move things along a little faster if we might be able to schedule a meeting sooner if you wanted to designate someone as your representative. You could even have 2 representatives and it wouldn't be a legal planning board meeting, and maybe we could schedule a date sooner.
That might get you guys going a little quicker, and then when we can, maybe we can all get together sooner, you know, Justin, when you're back. But I would hate for this to sit for 2 weeks and not have you guys be able to think it through with maybe a liaison or 2 from our board there.
I agree.
I do. This is Trustee Stetzer. I have to hop off the call, but I agree that we need to meet first, as I think that was proposed earlier. But without all 10 of us, there are probably some things that we need to go through. And if a liaison or 2 are from the planning board is there, that's even better. but we don't want to burden the planning board anymore by expecting them to be at that meeting and then at a subsequent meeting with all 10 of us. But yeah, you're right, David. It may be that we won't need the bigger meeting if we can resolve some things before then.
Renee, this is Trustee Lanfear. Would you and Bob be willing to continue as your position as liaison to the ATP, since you have been functioning in that role for the past 2 years and have all of the information?
Sure.
Do you feel it would be most appropriate for you and Bob to be continuing the meetings with the PCBA?
I am more than happy to do that.
Me too. Me too.
Okay, great. That would be great. Thank you.
I need to hop off the call. I think you all still have enough to have quorum, and I will support whatever a Monday night sounds doable. But Mayor Corby, you can text me if you need me to look at dates if you all are doing that tonight.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Planning Board, for all the work too.
Okay, do you want us to just coordinate a date? Would the planning board like to suggest a liaison or two to attend our trustee meeting? How would you like to proceed?
Do we need a dedicated person assigned, or is it flexible enough to have somebody there based?
We don't care. It's up to you guys.
I think so I'm not going to be here until the 21st. I'm out of town from leaving Tuesday and returning the 20th. So I think it's mostly important. I really liked your idea, Dave, to have the trustees discuss this. I think that's the important part. And so they can have their initial response figured out, and then we can discuss it as a group. So I don't particularly care who from the planning board can attend the meeting. It can be flexible in any given meeting. If the person can answer questions, great. If not, I don't think it's that big a deal, because I think we'll get together as a group. But I think the trustees need to start their own analysis of this, and that would be the key thing to do. Basically, to work on the counter proposal, or to come up with a document like we had before that says agree, disagree, and why, or table it for another time.
Okay, so if everybody's comfortable with this, then we can have Dorothea coordinate a meeting time with the trustees. We'll set it up, and we'll be in communication with either Justin or Susan, if you're away, Justin, to allow an opportunity for a planning board member to join in.
Yeah, you can copy me. Don't expect to reach me. I will be well away from cell phone reception for a while.
Fortunately so.
So then, Susan, if you could, for the planning board, just send us a note when the meeting is, and one or two of us might pick up the opportunity to attend.
Will do.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Very
Anything
good.
else we need to cover tonight before we adjourn? I'll make a motion to adjourn. Trustees, do I have a second?
Was that an adjournment?
Lily, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Yes, that was a motion to adjourn. Yep.
I'm second.
Okay, will you second that? All right,
That's your second.
Dorothea, roll call.
Dorothea, you're muted.
Dorothea, you're muted.
Got
There you
it. Trustee Lampier,
Lampier, aye.
Trustee Galusha,
Trustee Galusha, aye.
Mayor Corby.
Corby, aye.
Village Board motion passes.
Planning board members, do we need to have a brief discussion of what our next thing is? My suggestion was we table any more discussion of findings, and and I know we are working on a draft resolution should that be needed. I think this extension makes that unnecessary, so I would prefer to not continue working on that and to go ahead and let this process play out and see where it ends up.
That makes sense to me too.
Yeah,
Good.
that sounds good.
I agree.
Okay. All right, then if that's said, we still have an open public hearing for the LWRP review. I think we need to announce a date at which that's going to continue. My suggestion is we just have it continue at our next regular meeting on September 21st. Does that seem reasonable to everybody?
Yes.
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 Okay. So I'll make a motion then that we leave the public hearing open for the LWRP review of the active transportation plan and reconvene discussion of that at a regular meeting on Monday, September 21st.
Second.
How do you vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so let the record show that was the motion was brought by Mr. Vleetstra, seconded by Mr. Leetgib, and all 5 members of the planning board voted aye in favor of it. So with that said, I think we can adjourn the meeting. Is everyone in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, everybody. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second.
Third.
All in favor? Aye.
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 We're also
Again, all 5 members consented to ending the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Good
Bye.
Have a
night.
good weekend, everybody.
Oh,
You too.